Here, you can make up your own Tarzan and Jane story. At the end of each story segment, it's up to you to choose what happens next. If you want to hear your choices again, click on the curved arrow in the lower right corner of the screen. And if you want to exit the story, click on the X in the other corner. To get started, select the arrow in the center. Good luck!
Every once in a while, the excitement of life in the jungle takes a turn toward the routine. Take today. Turk is fishing in her favorite stump. The professor is busy at work in his lab. Ouch! And Tarzan is helping Jane adjust to life in the jungle. Routine. But one thing is out of the ordinary. Jane. She seems to be feeling a little out of her element lately. I guess this place can be overwhelming sometimes. And I know Jane doesn't want to feel like a burden to Tarzan. Of course, Tarzan will always be there to protect her. But as my buddy Turk always says, there's only so many times you can pull somebody out of the mud. As well as Jane is adapted to life in the jungle, sometimes she's as clumsy as an elephant, figuratively speaking, of course. But Tarzan doesn't mind. In fact, he'd be at her side right now if not for that plume of smoke there in the distance. Smoke. Did I say smoke? Oh, wait. Where there's smoke, there's more smoke. And where there's more smoke, there's fire, and fire is no friend to the jungle. What do you think Tarzan should do? Rush to investigate the fire? Or help Jane out of the mud? Oh, I can't look. Tell me when it's over. Aren't you a softie? Tarzan, always a gentleman of the jungle, swings down to help his beloved Jane out of the mud. You know, being stuck in a mud puddle is a far cry from the life Jane knew in London. Oh, there, she was a pro at knowing when to use a teaspoon, a soup spoon, or even a straw. Yet, she could tell you everything you ever wanted to know about the prickly-backed swamp toad, as long as she didn't have to touch one. And she hobnobbed with important people and talked about important things like, fashion. But here in the jungle, Jane is Mrs. Tarzan, and Mrs. Tarzan has more important topics to deal with, such as trying to not fall in the mud. Jane hasn't seen the fire in the distance yet, and Tarzan isn't sure what to do. He could take Jane to investigate the fire with him. It might be useful to have her around, or it might be a better idea to take her back to the treehouse. She doesn't seem to be in the mood for adventure. Gee, what should Tarzan do? Not a bad choice. Frankly, it was a toss-up for me. So, Tarzan starts to take Jane back to the treehouse. He's in a bit of a rush because he doesn't want that fire to get out of control. Jane still doesn't know about the fire and can't understand why Tarzan is in such a rush. Jane wants an explanation. Why is Tarzan acting so strangely? Without a word, Tarzan takes her to the top of a tall tree and points at the fire in the distance. A picture speaks 1,000 words. In this case, maybe 2,000. They arrive home safely, but Tarzan isn't sure what to do next. Jane suggests that her father, the professor, might have some useful information about forest fires. He does know a thing or two about a thing or two, you know. I know. But then again, Turk thinks there's no time to lose, and that Tarzan should go deal with the fire right away. What should Tarzan do? See if the professor has any advice, or rush to the fire? I couldn't have made a better choice myself. Tarzan rushes toward the fire. He swings on vines, slides down trees, and soars through the air. And he never gets a splinter. Show him what you're made of, Tarzan! He eventually reaches the source of the fire, a logging operation that's cutting down every living thing in its path. 3 bulldozers and a dozen different slash and burn fires. Oh, who do these people think they are? Tarzan is about to give them a free lesson on what they can do with their bulldozers when he suddenly notices a baby gorilla stuck up in a tree and a bulldozer is fast approaching. What should Tarzan do? Should he try to stop the loggers or should he rescue the baby gorilla? Oh, hurry! There's no time to waste! I like your logic. Hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Tarzan jumps onto the bulldozer and forces the driver to stop. He can be very assertive sometimes. Tarzan demands to know who gave these people the right to bulldoze his jungle. The loggers say they're only doing what their boss told them to do. Passing the buck if you ask me. The loggers introduce Tarzan to their boss, a mean, horrible villain named Markham. Okay, maybe he's not so mean and horrible. He's actually friendly and reasonable, and a snazzy dresser to boot. Markham pulls out an official permit granting him logging rights in the jungle. He says he doesn't want any trouble and is only trying to do what's right for his family. At that, the sweetest little girl you ever did see runs out and jumps into his arms. Oh, this is getting so complicated. You can't fight a man with a child in his arms. Oh, what should Tarzan do? Maybe he should invite Markham to come meet his family and learn why the jungle is so important to him. Or maybe he should compromise and allow Markham to cut down the trees on the other side of the river, leaving Tarzan's side of the river alone. Oh, how do you decide? Excellent choice. Bring it home, baby. Tarzan suggests that Markham come visit his treehouse and meet the rest of his family. That's one way to turn the tables on him. Markham's daughter, Abby, takes an immediate liking to Jane, and it looks like the feeling is mutual. After dinner, Tarzan offers to take Markham on a tour of the jungle he'll never forget. Perhaps if Markham sees some of the wonders the jungle has to offer, he won't be so quick to tear it down. What do you think? And you know, there's no better tour guide than Tarzan. The only thing he's missing is a souvenir tote bag. And you know, one of those little carts you ride around in. Tarzan and Markham go on a late-night walk through the jungle. They see beautiful vistas, climb tall trees, and see endangered animals in their native habitat. Remind me to take that tour someday. Markham begins to realize that the jungle is a special place, and you have to treat it with respect. There's nothing wrong with taking down some trees, but you have to do it responsibly. The next day, Tarzan finds the loggers planting trees instead of pulling them out. What a sight! He saved the forest from its worst predator, man. Good going, T-Man.